guys, welcome back to my channel. Super excited to start the new year with just a sense of feeling like self-improvement and developing and just becoming the best version of myself. And I am all for resolutions. I think they're still very important. I know there's a lot of people out there who think resolutions are lame, or that we shouldn't start doing that, and we should have, I don't know, it's like this weird cool kid thing now where resolutions are no longer a thing. And I'm like, can we just let people do what they want to do? If you're not about it, that's cool, but don't judge other kids who want to still be about that life. I think wanting to change and allowing the mark or the beginning of a year to give you that push and that motivation to change is a good thing. It's better than not changing. So I'm all for that, and don't allow people to make you feel some kind of way about resolutions. Mine in particular, I only have one real major resolution, and that is about my health. And I'm not just talking about my physical health and going to the gym and be more active, but it's also just making sure that I take care of my insides, going to see a dentist, gynecologist, psychologists, all this extra stuff, really just taking care of me mentally, physically, spiritually, just overall, the stuff that I have 100% control over, which is my body and what I feed it and what I do with it and all of that. I want to have I want to feel like I have a better say over it, and I'm not allowing things to happen to me. I'm allowing, I'm intentional about my body and my health, and so that's a major resolution for myself. I did take my health a lot more seriously towards the end of the year, and I think I've got the right sort of mental idea of how I want to look and present myself to the world. And so I just want to continue on that momentum. Anyway, enough about that. I hope that you also, you can feel free to write down your own resolutions on some of the things that, you want to achieve in this year, remembering that we overestimate what we can do in a year and we can underestimate what can be done in 10 years. So don't give yourself so many crazy resolutions that really can only be done within a longer span of time, and then when it comes to the end of the year and you don't achieve them, that you're hard on yourself, because sometimes we really are overestimating what can be done within 1 year, because you're unlearning certain behaviors and learning new ones. Anyways, so today I just wanted to chat to you guys about dealing with parental pressure or pressure from family. Going back home to South Africa was really wonderful, but I would be lying if I said that I didn't feel a sense of pressure, because I feel my going home back to my parents, it's almost when you finally get that final report card and you have to hand it over to your parents and they have to read it and tell you whether they're happy or not. I literally got that sense, that feeling of oh my gosh, I have to now let my parents know what I've been doing for the year, which what I thought was, wasn't really much. I didn't go home with a promotion or an exceptional amount of new followers or anything. I don't know. That's measurable to my parents, right? So I just felt I was going to be a bit of a disappointment. And, also just financially, I wasn't, in my opinion, I didn't feel I was doing really well. So I couldn't buy the presents that I thought I would be able to buy. So it just felt a lot of this weird pressure to show for something, and I had nothing to show for. And I know speaking to a lot of my friends that they also felt the same way, that, just, yeah, you don't want to let your parents down as a kid, and it doesn't matter how old you get. You just don't want to let them down, because you feel they've sacrificed so much and they believe in you so much, and you just want to give them everything. And obviously the conversation came up eventually, because you go through the festive season and it's all fun and you're meeting with family, but at some point it's going to be dropped. So what are you doing with your life? And in this case, this year, surprisingly, was when are you going to start a new family? And I was like, this is so, it's strange because like, I didn't think my parents cared about like that stuff. But I get where it's coming from. Like, obviously I'm not getting any younger, and you know, some of my friends have already, you know, either engaged or at least they're in long-term relationships or something. And here I am, very, very single. And so they just, I think ultimately it's just that they want to know, like, what is your life plan, dude? And so it gets me very defensive and very emotional, because I feel like this is something that I go through in my mind at least 3 times a day. You know, like I'm always concerned about what is it that I'm doing? What is it that I'm achieving? If I got hit by a bus today, like, do I have anything worthwhile that I've left behind to this world? So it gets me a little emotional, because it feels like an attack on me, as if I don't really know what I'm doing with my life, when really I'm one of those people now. I don't want to like just jump into something for the sake of jumping into it because that's what everyone else is doing, forgetting that, you know, you need to be feeling happy and you need to be feeling a sense of fulfillment while doing something. You know, I love that I am a chartered accountant. I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't any perks to it, but you know, I feel like it wasn't 100% my decision. A lot of it had to do with like what Michelle Obama mentions in her book, Becoming, is it's one of those careers or designations that everyone feels is like, yeah, you know, you're doing something really cool. Like you're doing something that's like, that society thinks is really cool, you know, like being a lawyer, like, oh yeah, that's something that's very important. Oh, you know what you're doing with your life. Oh, you want to be a doctor. That's great. You want to save lives. Oh, you're so humble, you know, and it's just like, yeah, I think a little bit of that is like, you know, you're getting patted on the back for wanting to do something more prestigious with your life. And then only to realize that, you know, it's not always like that. You know, it's very, very different when you actually have to have the daily effect of being a chartered accountant. And some aspects of it I really love, and other aspects I don't really. So it's just, I don't want to throw myself again into another like 7-year thing, you know, and wanting to be this thing like getting an MBA because that's what everyone thinks is so cool right now, getting an MBA from Harvard, and only to find myself $200,000 or $400,000 in debt and not really feeling like this was something that I really wanted. So that's my main concern, and that's why I don't want to tell my parents these are the plans that I have for my life, when that's not how I really feel. I'm just saying that to you to make you feel better that your child is doing something. So I know there was a sense of like, oh, you still don't really have like a solid plan. But I was very honest. And I think that's how you need to deal with a lot of pressure, is by being honest and communicating with those people that you love that, you know, I do take my life seriously. I do. I really do. I wouldn't be thinking about this stuff 3 times a day if I didn't. Like, I really do. I am very intentional about my life. So much so that I want to be sure that whatever it is that I eventually want to do for myself, it feels right with my soul. I don't want to just do things because that's what society expects me to do. I've done that and it didn't quite shape out the way that I thought it would. So I think by being honest and communicating really has helped alleviate that pressure, because now they come from a sense of empathy. They now start to understand that, oh, this person, it's not that they're taking their life for granted. They really are just they're being considerate, and they're really pondering. And I think the second thing that just by having communication with my parents is I started to use words like, I understand where you are coming from. Because I think when we are, as human beings just in general, we want to feel like the other person is actually listening to me. And you want them to feel like, you know, like you want whatever you're saying to resonate with that person. That person is at least recognizing, you know, what you're saying, even if they don't fully like implement what you're saying into their own lives, but they at least heard you. And I think when I started using those words, like, I understand where you're coming from. I know that this is coming from a place of love and not necessarily a place of control. I think they started to ease up the conversation, and it wasn't as tense, you know. It was more like, so how can we then help you? you know? So I think just those two things alone, just by being honest and just coming from a place of appreciation for why they care so much and why they want to start this conversation to begin with, I think that really eased up a lot of the tension. And then I think finally, it's also just reminding them that they were once upon a time in your own shoes. Maybe not at my particular age, but at some point, every human being, I think, goes through this period where you really are just trying to listen to your own instinct and fine tune that. And sometimes it's not necessarily going to be the fashionable thing to do. It's not going to be the trendy thing to do. And it's not always going to make sense to other people. But you know in your heart of hearts that this is what I need to do. Sometimes you don't even have the blimmin' answers. I don't. But that's just that thing, that instinct that says this is what I want to do. And so I think when I help them see that and help them go back to their own memory bank and realize moments in their own lives when they were just as young as me, if not younger. Because I know, for instance, my mom had left like Hammanskraal, which is like a tiny town outside of Pretoria, and moved to Johannesburg, not even letting her parents know at age 18, you know? Like, that's not an easy decision to make. Like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do. Like, clearly there was a lot of probably thinking behind it, and also just saying, okay, I'm not going to tell my parents because they're going to talk me out of it. So I just wanted to take them back to those moments in their own lives, you know, where they made bold decisions that weren't necessarily popular, but have led them to the life that they're now living today. And just by making them see that, like, there's a whole amount of empathy and like, oh, this is what this person is going through, and me putting this pressure on them, like, what are you doing? When are you doing this? And whatever, it's not helping, because there's no real blueprint to this thing. There's no real like map that says you're gonna go through this for 3 months, and then you're gonna go through this for 6 months, and then by the end of like September, you're gonna have like a 5-year plan. No, it's not like that. You have to go through so many life experiences, meet certain people, fall in love with certain things, fall out of love with certain things, and then you start to slowly like discover yourself. There is no real major formula to it. It can take a year, it can take 10 years, but there needs to be a sense of patience. There needs to be a sense of support. And of course, like I always welcome their opinion and what they think I should do. Like, it's not that I don't, it's just, I don't want them to have the expectation that their opinion is going to be law in my life and that's what I'm going to apply because that's what they said. Like, they need to understand and respect my sense of free will and respect that I am my own individual now and I'm no longer 5 years old, which I actually appreciated, especially from my dad. You know, he really, I think, gets that, like, I'm old. Like, I'm not old, but like I'm an adult now. I think it's a little harder for my mom because I don't know if it's coming from a place of like just instinctually like wanting to protect your young at all costs and you forget that they're 27. But, you know, like, yeah, it's a little bit maybe harder for her. But I get the sense that they see, oh, this person's an adult. And also we need to trust her abilities. Like, she's made the right decisions so far. I feel like maybe a lot of you guys also, you know, you've made really good decisions. You're alive. That's the first thing. So kudos to you. And you've just, you know, you've made decisions that were not always disappointing. So they need to trust that in future you're going to make the right decisions for your life. You know, the dots only make sense when you look backward, but unfortunately with life, you can only live it forward, looking forward. So certain decisions don't always make sense immediately, but at some point in life, you're going to look back and go, oh, this is why I need it. Like the CASA thing. Like, I look back now and I'm like, if it wasn't for this degree, I wouldn't be in the United States. Like, it's not a joke. I know that it needed to happen for me to get here. There's so many things that I can look back and be like, oh, this needed to happen in order for me to be here. And they're not always apparent. So it's just one of those things. So dealing with your parental pressure, you need to understand that they're also human beings and their concerns, most parents at least, their concerns come from love and fear. And sometimes they're projecting their own like fears onto you. And you need to like be able to appreciate that that's what's really happening and don't take it so personally. Yeah, sometimes it can be very like hurtful with their words, but you know, communicate that and say that was hurtful because I am trying my best. You know, speak to them as an adult so that they can like start to respect you as an adult. That's at least how I see it. And that's what's really helped me get by, because I find that when you're arguing, it not only makes the whole situation tense, but it makes it difficult for me to want to come back home the next year. And I thankfully can say that, you know, we were very teary-eyed when I had to leave to go to America again. So that's good. That means that everyone still feels like, you know, they want you in their lives, and it's still all coming from a place of love, and there's no sense of resentment. And yeah, you know, your parents are getting older, and sadly at some point they are going to pass away. So appreciate them while they're still here, and also appreciate that they do have a lot more wisdom than you. Maybe they're not as like hip as your friends, but they do offer a lot of really very good advice if you just open yourself to listening to them. And again, you don't have to apply everything that they say, but at least validate them by listening to them. That's all that we human beings want, is just to say, you know, did you hear me, and did what I say to you matter? So yeah, I hope that that's really helpful for you, and that you don't take everything that people say to you to heart, because understand that people are going through their own little cycle of things, and sometimes they say things not really being aware of the impact of those words. And you know, like, you don't always have to take it in. You still eventually have a say on how you experience life. So yeah, I think I said enough on this topic, and I hope that I do more of these things, because I think, you know, in the world that we're living in, you know, we can sometimes get stuck in our own minds, and being able to at least, you know, say certain things that I think that really helped me and can help the next person. It's always a good thing. I live alone, so I want to say something to someone and hope that they can be like, I never thought of it that way. So anyways, guys, I hope that you enjoyed that. I love you so much. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourselves. Be kind to your parents. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.